Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Welcome to Islamic economics. Today's topic, we go back to uh, chapter 8, introduction, introduction to Islamic macroeconomics. So we try to quickly review what is macroeconomics. Macroeconomics studies the economy in its totality or as a whole or as aggregate. So unlike microeconomics that studies individual economic units like consumers, households, firms, or industry, macroeconomics studies the whole economic system. So macroeconomics is the study of aggregates and averages of the entire economy, of the entire country. So such aggregates, for example, include national income, uh, so when we talk about aggregates, it means the totality or the economy as a whole. So, for example, national income such as gross domestic product, gross national product (GNP), national income, and total employment, savings, aggregate savings, aggregate demand, aggregate supply, general price level, etc. So macroeconomics studies how these aggregates, the aggregate demand, aggregate supply, and averages, okay, consumer price index, for example, how these aggregates and averages of the economy, how these aggregates and averages of the economy as a whole are determined, and what are the factors that cause the fluctuations of the changes, why national income increases, why it decreases, what determines the aggregate demand, what determines the aggregate supply. So these are discussed in the macroeconomics classes that you have studied before. So we quickly try to review what we have studied in macroeconomics class. The objective of macroeconomics is to achieve the maximum level of income and to achieve the full employment in the country. In short, macroeconomics is the study of national aggregates or economy-wide aggregates. In a way, it's like study of forest. We study the whole forest, okay, not the trees, not the individual trees. So we look at the forest as a whole. Okay, main tools of the analysis of macroeconomics are aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So it's very important for the government to formulate suitable and correct economic policies to control inflation, to control unemployment, um, and to have a good distribution or fair distribution of income, so that crises such as depressions, crises such as financial crisis uh, will not will be able to control and to cure. So the problems uh, occurs. The problem is unavoidable. Kita pun sakit, demam, ekonomi pun kadang-kala sakit, kadang-kala demam. So we have, like currently we have economic depressions, even in Malaysia. Economic depressions characterized by the high unemployment and the low purchasing power. People do not have enough money to do the expenditure. Consumers don't have enough purchasing power to purchase all the necessary goods. Okay, unemployment is high. Some businesses have to be shut down, or some businesses um, have to be curtailed, have to um, have have to be scaled down. Okay, so it's very important for the government to formulate the suitable and correct policies. So macroeconomics is the basis of all plans of economic development of not only the advanced economies, but also the underdeveloped economies. Like Malaysia. So Malaysia also have to have the suitable and correct economic policies, correct economic plans to bolster or to revive the economy, untuk merancangkan perkembangan ekonomi, untuk mengurangkan pengangguran, and to control the inflation. So penyakit inflasi, penyakit pengangguran adalah penyakit yang wujud. Tetapi kerajaan perlulah menyediakan dasar yang bersesuaian untuk menangani masalah atau menangani penyakit dalam ekonomi kita. Okay, apa dia penyakit dalam ekonomi? Pertama, economic depression or economic slowdown. Number 2, unemployment. Number 3, inflation. Okay, any question? Miss Araya, any question?
No, Doctor.
The scope of macroeconomics. So remember, Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, we will have a review session for the second midterm. Okay, 9 o'clock at night, Tuesday night. And we'll have the midterm. Don't forget, mark your calendar. We'll have a midterm on 24th of March, Wednesday, 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. Okay, the scope of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is a important field of study for the economists, for the government, financial bodies, businesses, and researchers to analyze the general national issues, okay, such as unemployment, such as the uh, the economic development, such as national output, budget, the government budget, and others. So microeconomics widely cover two major fundamentals. The two main fundamentals, and we divide into several topics. So these are the scope of macroeconomics. There are two scopes. One is macroeconomic theories. There are lots of macroeconomic theories and macroeconomic policies. So this one you have studied before in macroeconomic class, right? So there are several macroeconomic theories, the theory of development, the theory of economic growth and development. Can you see or not this graph? Can you see it's moving? Turun naik. Okay. So macroeconomic theories includes the theory of economic growth and development, theory of national income, theory of money, theory of international trade, theory of employment, theory of general price level, which is inflation. And there are two types of macroeconomic policies, fiscal policy and monetary policy. Okay, macroeconomic theories. There are 6 significant theories under macroeconomics. Economic growth and development. Okay, so this under this theory, we study the status of a country's economy in terms of income, such as a per capita real income. Okay, we will study national income, GDP, GNP, and then also the theory of national income. It covers various topics related to national income, including national income, national expenditure or government expenditure, and budgeting, the government budget. And then theory of money, macroeconomics analyzes the functions of the reserve bank in the economy, the inflow and outflow of money, along with its impact on the employment. And then it also includes the theory of international trade. So in the theory of national trade, we study the exports and imports of goods and services, and it determines the trade among various countries, and also what are the duties involved in the international trade. And then theory of employment. This branch of macroeconomics helps to figure out the level of unemployment and employment conditions in the country. And theory of general price level, the most important of all is the analysis of uh, product pricing, which determines the the increase or the decrease in the inflation. All right, so we have two macroeconomic policies, fiscal policy and monetary policy. So fiscal policy is a means of meeting the deficit of income over expenditure. So in fiscal policy, there are two focus. One is the government income, and number two, the government expenditure. So it determines the budget, whether it is surplus or balanced budget or the deficit budget. If the government expenditure is more than the government revenue, we call it uh, deficit. Okay, you spend more than income, so deficit. If your income, if the government's revenue or government's income is more than the government expenditure, then it's called surplus. If the income and expenditure is equal, we call the balanced budget. Okay, and then we have monetary policy in the conventional economics. We are talking about conventional economics now. So monetary policy. So before we study the Islamic fiscal and Islamic monetary policy, I would like to review the conventional fiscal and monetary policy. So monetary policy is framed by the Reserve Bank, or in Malaysia we have uh, Bank Negara Malaysia. Okay, in Malaysia we have Bank Negara Malaysia in collaboration with the government. So these policies are measures taken to maintain economic stability and growth in the country by regulating various interest rates. So this is a conventional monetary policy, and of course, like we discussed before, Islamic monetary policy. In Islam, interest or riba is forbidden. So riba cannot be used, interest or riba cannot be used as a tool in the Islamic monetary policy. Okay, let me remind you, you have to view the video in Dr. Yusuf TV, because midterms and final exams, it covers not only the lecture, not only lecture notes. So if you read these lecture notes or the textbook that I write, it's not enough, because sometimes there are some explanations that are not in the book but in the video. So I would recommend that all of you view the video. Okay? Most of you still don't never view the video on Dr. Yusuf channel. So in order to do well, you need to find time to view the video. So if you don't understand, then you can repeat and you can watch many times. All right, so let's continue. The importance of macroeconomics. It helps to understand the functioning of a complicated modern economic systems. So macroeconomics describes how the economy as a whole function and how the national income and employment level is determined on the basis of aggregate demand and aggregate supply. And it helps to achieve the goal of economic growth. Like we said, the objective or the goal of macroeconomics is to achieve economic growth, okay, higher level of GDP and higher level of employment. Macroeconomics analyzes the forces which determine economic growth of a country and explains how to reach the highest state of the economic growth. And currently, our economic growth is not so good because of the effect of the COVID-19. So there must be some understanding on macroeconomics and how to use the macroeconomic tools to revive the economy. Currently, our economy is slowing down. Kemelesetan ekonomi. All right. So number three, it helps to bring stability in price level because the objective of macroeconomics is to make sure the price stability uh, could be maintained. So we want to we want to fight the continuous increase in the aggregate price. We want to fight inflation, right? All right, so it helps to solve economic problems like unemployment, poverty, business cycles, the ups and downs of the business activities, and with understanding of macroeconomics, hopefully the government can formulate suitable and correct policy. Last but not the least is that macroeconomic theory has saved us from the dangers of application of microeconomic theory to the problems of economy as a whole. Now we go to Islamic fiscal policy. Okay, so before we go, any question? Okay, this is on the exam. Only 13 people attend today. Ramai orang tak masuk kelas. Any question? No, Azlina.
Ya, Doktor.
Ada soalan tak?
Setakat ni tak ada.
Nurul Akila.
Ya, Doktor.
Ada soalan?
Tak ada.
Tak ada juga. Muhammad Syauki.
Ya, Doktor.
Ada soalan? Tentang makroekonomi.
Tak ada.
Semua tak ada soalan ni. Dengar je lah. Kelas ni memang boring kan? Saya dulu belajar ekonomi boring kan? Tapi lah ni saya pula kena mengajar ekonomi kan? Nak tanya soalan, tak tahu lah. Sebab kelas ni memang boring kan? Nurul Akila. Lena ke apa? Nurul Akilah ni Lena kan? Siti Rahmah. Hamdi Halis.
Ya, saya doktor.
Kelas ni boring tak?
Kelas ni Alhamdulillah bagi saya syok je.
Tipu lah.
Oh, takat lah saya tak pun tinggal lagi rasa. Doktor.
Kelas ni memang boring.
Ha?
Kelas ni memang boring.
Tak ada lah. Boring. Mesti ada program lagi, doktor.
Tu nak jack saya tu.
Ya?
Kamu nak jack saya tu.
Betul.
Saya dulu belajar ekonomi 7 tahun. Daripada degree sampai master sampai PhD setahun. Buat PhD ekonomi setahun. Kemudian saya tukar PhD.
Betulnya.
PhD
Tajuknya.
saya tukar PhD kepada bidang kewangan Islam. Sebab saya boring dengan ekonomi.
Oh, boleh tukar apa ni ya? Apa bahagian tu? Apa
Boleh.
skop tu?
Sebab saya buat PhD guna duit sendiri. Sebab saya tak ambil tajaan kerajaan. Degree dengan master je saya ditaja oleh JPA.
Dapat beasiswa lah, doktor.
Dapat beasiswa.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
Saya dapat beasiswa duduk 7 tahun di US.
Oh, yo. Doktor,
Ya.
duduk US syok tak?
Kalau pergi melancong syok. Kalau pergi belajar tak syok. Sebab subjek di sana tough.
Oh, susah lah, doktor.
Melancong syok, pergi jalan-jalan seronok. Kalau pergi belajar tak seronok lah. Sebab pengalaman saya di sana subjek sana tough lah. Universiti yang saya pergi tu universiti yang tough lah, yang susah lah. University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Dari Milwaukee nama dia. University of Wisconsin. University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. So, universiti tu susah nak masuk, senang nak keluar. Susah nak score, susah nak masuk, nak kena tendang, senang lah.
Oh, macam tu nak.
Jadi yang terpilih sana adalah student yang terpilih lah. Daripada student yang score lah kan. Daripada MRSM, daripada zaman tu lah yang kelas sekolah-sekolah di Malaysia yang score MRSM, sekolah menengah sains, atau kolej-kolej lah macam kolej Islam, kolej Tengku Kursia, kolej Sultan Abdul Hamid macam tu lah. So, saya pada kolej Islam.
Oh, kolej Islam.
Lah ni kisah lah. Dulu kolej Islam Kelang.
Oh, kolej Islam Kelang.
Saya dulu mengaji pondok. Lepas tu pergi kolej Islam Kelang. Daripada pondok pergi kolej Islam Kelang. Daripada kolej Islam Kelang pergi ke US. So, cita-cita nak jadi ustaz. Tapi tak jadi ustaz sebab terpilih untuk sambung ke US. Kalau tak ke US, saya nak ke Al-Azhar lah. Background saya pondok. Jadi, abang-abang saya semua ustaz-ustaz pergi Azhar. Saya seorang pergi US. Jadi, bila saya balik kampung, orang tak respect saya lah sebab saya bukan ustaz. Sebab saya tak alim.
Nampak tak tu? Tinggi tu ngaji.
Mereka tak tahu tu. Tak apalah, orang pandangan macam tu lah. Kalau balik kampung, saya orang pondok. Saya dibesarkan di pondok. Kalau balik di pondok tu, orang yang ustaz-ustaz tu mereka respect lah. Yang bukan ustaz ni mereka biasa-biasa lah.
Dapat doktor Microeconomic pun ada Islam juga ada.
Mereka tak tahu saya PhD kewangan Islam. Saya mengajar saya boleh mengajar subjek-subjek macam ekonomi Islam, zakat, wakaf, fiqh muamalat. Dari satu segi macam ustaz lah juga.
Betul.
Cuma saya tak mengajar dalam bahasa Arab, mengajar dalam bahasa Inggeris. Itu je lah.
Betul.
Okay, let's continue Islamic fiscal policy. So, what's the difference between Islamic and conventional fiscal policy? There are many similarities. Ada juga persamaan antara dasar fiskal konvensional dan dasar fiskal Islam. Ada persamaan dan ada perbezaan. Most economic scholars have no objection on using fiscal policy as an instrument to achieve certain macroeconomic goals. However, the objectives of Islamic fiscal policy are different from the objectives of the conventional fiscal policy. Furthermore, Islamic economic system is different from the conventional economic system, like we discussed before. This is because in the Islamic economic system there are principles of permissibility. Ada hukum mengenai halal, ada hukum mengenai haram, permissibility and impermissibility. Kalau konvensional dia tak ada halal, tak ada konsep halal, tak ada konsep haram, tak ada konsep akhirat. So dalam Islamic fiscal policy dia ada konsep halal, ada konsep haram, ada konsep akhirat. We want to achieve the falah, the success in this world and the success in the hereafter. So in Islamic fiscal policy, we must follow the principles of Sharia. Kena ikut prinsip-prinsip Syariah. Prinsip Syariah tu datang daripada mana? Daripada Quran, daripada hadis, daripada ijma, qiyas dan sumber-sumber yang lain. Okay. Islamic government and economic system. Islamic state is, when we talk about Islamic state, okay, it composed of two words, Islam and state. Islamic state. So Islamic state, negara Islam ataupun kerajaan Islam, revolves around the Quran and the Sunnah. Yang penting bila kita sebut Islam ni ialah mesti berpaksikan kepada Quran dan Sunnah. And not around Muslims. Sebab apa? Ada juga negara yang diperintah oleh orang Islam tapi tidak mengamalkan prinsip Islam. Tidak dasar kerajaan tidak berpaksikan atau berlandaskan Quran dan Sunnah. So, yang penting sekali ialah untuk menentukan sesebuah kerajaan itu Islam atau tidak, mesti melihat kepada dasar pemerintahan itu adakah berlandaskan Quran dan Sunnah atau tidak. All of the systems, laws and regulations must based solely from the Islamic aqidah, okay, from the Islamic aqidah and the sources of Sharia, Quran, Sunnah, and must be substantiated or proved by evidence to verify such a law or articles of law as derived from Islam for a state to be considered Islamic. Malaysia ni negara Islam ke tak? Malaysia ni negara Islam ke tak?
Islam.
Okay. Untuk menentukan negara itu Islam atau tidak, bukan bergantung kepada sama ada pemimpinnya Islam atau tidak. Yang penting negara Islam itu semua sistem undang-undang dan regulations mesti berasaskan kepada akidah dan mesti berasaskan pada sumber syariah, dan semua undang-undang mesti mesti berasaskan kepada Islam. Ya, sumber hukum mestilah datangnya daripada Quran dan Sunnah. Apa-apa yang dilarang oleh Quran, apa-apa yang dilarang oleh Sunnah tidak boleh dilaksanakan. Itu baru negara Islam. Okay. Islamic state should guarantee equal rights to all ethnic, racial, cultural, tribal, and religious groups. The Quran considers racial, national, tribal, and linguistic differences as signs of Allah. Signs of Allah, ayatullah, and indicative of identity. So the Islamic State should have the following characteristics: absolutely non-discriminatory on the basis of race, color, language, and nationality. So kerajaan Islam tidak boleh mengamalkan diskriminasi berasaskan bangsa, warna kulit, bahasa, ataupun kewarganegaraan. Number two, Islamic State should guarantee gender equality. Tidak boleh ada diskriminasi jantina. Guarantee equal rights to all religious groups and accept plurality of religion. Negara Islam membenarkan penganut-penganut agama lain mengamalkan agama masing-masing. Democratic in nature and concerned on human dignity. Role of Islamic government in economics. Role of Islamic government in economy. The role of Islamic government is ensuring compliance with the Islamic code of conduct by individuals through education and whenever necessary through coercion. So, peranan sebuah negara Islam atau sebuah kerajaan Islam ialah untuk memastikan bahawa code of ethics, perlakuan Islam itu dipatuh oleh individu. Okey. Kerajaan Islam mesti memastikan misalnya peniaga mesti berniaga benda yang haram, benda yang halal, benda yang halal. Macam mana nak buat? Through education. Mula-mula mendidik dulu. And whenever necessary, through coercion. Kalau tak jalan juga dengan pendidikan, boleh menggunakan paksaan. Misalnya boleh menggunakan denda, boleh menggunakan hukuman. In addition, the Islamic government must also allocate the expenditure on maintenance of healthy conditions in the market to ensure its proper functioning. Furthermore, the Islamic government must make effort towards modification of allocation of resources and distribution of income. Jadi kalau misalnya agihan pendapatan itu tidak adil dan tidak saksama, kerajaan juga perlu campur tangan dengan cuba untuk cuba untuk memperbetulkan supaya agihan pendapatan itu lebih adil dan pendapatan tidak boleh berada di kalangan orang-orang kaya yang tertentu sahaja. Tak bolehlah ada kroni ya. Tak boleh ada di kalangan orang-orang kaya yang tertentu sahaja. So the Islamic government must make effort towards modification of the allocation of resources and distribution of income affected by the market mechanism by guiding and regulating as well as direct intervention and participation in the process of income distribution. Misalnya kutip zakat daripada orang kaya bagi and then distribute kepada orang yang miskin. Also, it should take positive steps in the field of production and capital formation to accelerate growth. Okay, now let's talk about conventional versus Islamic fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is the use of government spending and taxation to influence the economy. When the government decides on goods and services it purchases, the transfer payment it distributes, or the tax it collects, it is engaging in fiscal policy. So bila sebut fiscal policy, tiga benda. Perbelanjaan kerajaan, bayaran pindahan oleh kerajaan, macam kerajaan bagi bantuan kepada rakyat, dan juga cukai yang dikutip. So tiga aspek. The primary economic impact of any change in the government budget is felt by particular groups. Tax cut for families with children, for example, raises their disposable income. Discussions on fiscal policy, however, generally focus on the effects of changes in the government budget on the overall economy. Although changes in taxes or spending that are revenue neutral may be construed as fiscal policy, it may affect the aggregate level of output. By changing the incentives that firms or individuals face. So the term fiscal policy is usually used to describe the effect on the aggregate economy of the overall level of spendings and taxation, and more particularly the gap between them. So bila kerajaan melaksanakan dasar tertentu seperti meningkatkan perbelanjaan kerajaan, dia akan mempengaruhi disposable income, dia akan mempengaruhi wang dalam poket kita. Kalau kerajaan melaksanakan dasar untuk meningkatkan bayaran pindahan bagi bantuan kepada golongan tertentu, so dia akan mempengaruhi golongan tertentu. Kalau kerajaan melaksanakan dasar contohnya mengurangkan cukai, so dia akan mempengaruhi golongan yang terkesan. Kerana bila dikurangkan cukai, maksudnya the people atau rakyat mempunyai wang yang lebih untuk dibelanjakan. So fiscal policy is based on the theories of John Maynard Keynes, which hold that increasing or decreasing revenue or taxes and expenditure influence inflation, employment, and the flow of money through the economic system. Okay. Macam mana fiscal policy ini boleh mempengaruhi ekonomi? To see how fiscal policy can affect the economy, consider a fiscal expansion. Bayangkan kerajaan meningkatkan perbelanjaan kerajaan. So a fiscal expansion leads to rising demand. Bila banyak kerajaan membelanjakan, contohnya untuk membuat infrastruktur seperti lebuh raya, hospital dan sebagainya, maka dia akan menyebabkan pendapatan atau wang dalam poket itu meningkat. Rakyat akan dapat limpahan kontraktor dapat limpahan, supplier dapat limpahan. So wang akan banyak dalam poket sebahagian daripada rakyat lah. So that leads to rising demand. Ada banyak duit, dia akan dapat meningkatkan permintaan, which in turn increases production. If this demand increase occurs in a high employment economy, it will affect the price. So if this demand occurs in a low employment country, this demand will lead to more employment and production. All right. Nurul Akilah masih lena lagi ya?
Ya, Doktor.
Oh, ingat Dok Lena.
Tak.
Kelas ni boring kan?
Dok pun.
Mesti ke? Ramai orang lena. Okay, so let's discuss fiscal policy in an Islamic economy. Okay, nak habis ni. Kalau boring pun dengar jalan lah. Okay, kalau boring saya nak cerita satu lawak lah. Kamu dengar? Kamu dengar saya nak cerita satu lawak. Okay, bila saya kahwin, saya tanya isteri saya sebab apa dia setuju untuk kahwin dengan saya. So dia kata ada 5 sebab. Pertama, dia nak suami yang lebih tua daripada dia. Okay, pertama. Kedua, nak suami yang lebih tinggi. Okay, so saya suami yang lebih tinggi ya. Yang ketiga, nak suami yang boleh membimbing. Okay, nak suami yang lebih yang boleh membimbing. Yang keempat, nak suami yang baik. So, okey lah, saya baik lah. Kelima, suami tu mestilah tak handsome. Okey. Oh, tak lawak. Okey, kita sambung. Oh, tak ada orang gelak. Hamdi tak gelak apa.
Ya, Doktor.
Oh, tak lawak. Saya buat lawak, tak ada siapa gelak.
Enggak.
Isteri saya kata saya tak handsome.
Ya,
Isteri saya kata dia nak suami yang tak handsome. Jadi disebabkan
Kenapa, Doktor?
saya tak tahu kat dia. Oh,
Ya,
saya pun tak tahu siapa.
kalau Doktor handsome macam mana?
Kalau saya handsome, dia tak mau kat saya.
Allah.
Dia mau saya sebab dia nak suami yang tak handsome. Kalau
Handsome payah jaga, Doktor.
handsome payah jaga. Sebab apa?
Orang handsome maintenance kurang, Doktor.
Sebab tu dia pilih saya.
Handsome sangat, kira ramai berkenan, Doktor.
Oh, bahaya kan?
Jadi sebab saya tak handsome, dia pilih saya lah. Dia tak mau suami yang handsome. Isteri saya kata saya tak handsome. Kalau tak patut juga orang. Patutnya dia puji, patutnya dia kena kata handsome.
Betul.
Walaupun saya tak handsome, dia kena kata handsome. Barulah seronok kan.
Betul. Berbunga hati, Doktor.
Saya pun.
Doktor. Dia jujur lebih baik daripada berbohong tapi menyakitkan.
Nur Hazira, kamu pun kata saya tak handsome juga. Nanti saya potong markah kamu. Kamu jujur kata saya tak handsome.
Jangan.
Saya akan potong markah kamu sebab kamu kata saya tak handsome. Kamu kena main politik. Kena kata saya handsome baru saya bagi markah banyak. Okey, nanti Nur Hazira.
Handsome, Doktor. Handsome cara Melayu lah.
Oh, cara Melayu, ingat cara orang putih. Dulu macam muda saya handsome ke? Saya perasan lah saya handsome. Tapi saya rasa saya tak handsome pun sebab tak ada siapa mahu dengan saya masa saya muda. Okay, so sambung. Fiscal policy in an Islamic economy would be used to achieve the same objectives as in conventional economics. Okay, objektif dia lebih kurang sama ada conventional ataupun Islamic fiscal policy. Apa dia objektifnya? Dalam conventional fiscal policy objektifnya ialah price stability, kestabilan harga. Yang kedua, economic growth, pertumbuhan ekonomi. Ketiga, equitable distribution of income, agihan pendapatan yang adil. Tapi dalam ekonomi Islam, dia ada lagi objektif-objektif lain, plus other objectives which are embodied in the Islamic doctrine or must be achieved in order to apply the Islamic laws. Ada tambahan 3 lagi. Okay, pertama, Islam establishes a higher degree of economic equality and democracy through, among other principles and laws, the basic principle that wealth should not be permitted to circulate amongst the wealthy only. Jadi dalam Islam, kekayaan tak boleh berlegar dalam golongan kaya sahaja. Sebab tu dalam Islam ada konsep zakat, ada konsep wakaf, ada konsep sedekah, di mana orang kaya kalau zakat wajib untuk memberi kepada mengeluarkan zakat untuk diagih kepada golongan asnaf. Wakaf, okey, adalah satu bentuk charity yang sunat. Kemudian sedekah, kita perlu membanyakkan sedekah. Orang kaya lah, kan kita tu, kita tak kaya. Okey, tambahan yang kedua, since Islam prohibits the payment of interest on any type of loan, it follows that an Islamic economy would not be able to manipulate the rate of interest in order to achieve the equilibrium in the money market. Okay. Supply and demand for money cannot be influenced because riba is eliminated. Riba is haram in Islam. So the Islamic government or the Islamic authorities must find an alternative tool to achieve the equilibrium in the money market. Number 3, an Islamic economy would be committed to assist other less developed Islamic economies and to spread the message and teachings of Islam as widely as possible. Thus, part of government expenditure will be devoted to activities which promote Islam and increase the welfare of Muslim brothers in other countries. So the taxpayers in Islamic economies realize that part of the tax that he or she pays are committed to the service of Islam. Islamic fiscal policy is discussed mainly within the framework of Islamic distributive justice. Distributive justice is not the only objective that fiscal policy is capable of achieving. Fiscal policy is one of the instruments to ensure distributive justice in an Islamic society. And there are 4 main sources of revenue in Islamic government: taxation, zakat, jizyah, and government service fees. Okay, this one we discussed in the last lecture. So the Islamic government is allowed to collect tax from the people, and zakat is also a major instrument. There are 2 types of zakat: zakat al-fitri and zakatul mal. Zakat is collected from the Muslims eligible to pay zakat and distributed to 8 asnaf of zakat as stated in the Quran. And jizya is a tax the non-Muslim adults living an Islamic state had to pay in the early days of Islam. Sekarang tak ada dah jizyah. And then yang keempat, government service fees. Okay, insyaAllah we will continue in the next lecture. Okay, that's all the class for today. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.